You might think that owning 1,000 XRP makes you a top holder. I did too, until I stumbled upon an XRP Rich List that blew those assumptions away. Now it turns out that being in the top 5% or even 1% of XRP holders, it takes a lot more coins than I first thought. And if XRP ever hits $10, well, the numbers are staggering. Brace yourself, because this discovery really surprised me. I started down this rabbit hole when I found an article listing what it actually takes to be in the top tier of XRP holders. Naturally, I wondered, where do I stand? Now, I've been stacking XRP for a while, feeling pretty proud of my holdings, but this rich list was a bit of a wake-up call. It's basically ranks just how much XRP you need to be in the top 10%, the top 5%, and even the top 1% of all XRP addresses. Here's a spoiler. It's higher than I expected. Now, let's break this down. To be in the top 10% of XRP holders, you do need to hold at least 2,323 XRP. Top 5%? Well, you're going to need around 8,067 XRP. And the top 1%? Brace yourself. It's roughly 50,000 XRP in one wallet. That's right. So if you have 50,000 XRP, congratulations. You are literally in one of the, at least the 1% club, I guess, of XRP holders. Now, how many people, or rather addresses, are we actually talking about? There are about 723,000 addresses in that top 10% category, and 361,000 of those are in the top 5%, and only 72,000 wallets are in the top 1%. So let's put that another way. Out of over 7.2 million XRP wallets that are in existence, only a tiny fraction hold these big amounts. Being in the top 5% actually means that you have more XRP than about 6.84 million other wallets. And that is pretty wild. I do have to admit, right, seeing those numbers, it made me recalibrate some of my own goals. How much XRP do you need to be in the top 5%? Well, that's about 8,067 XRP, right? So when I first read that, my eyes, they widened a little bit. 8,000 XRP is not pocket change at today's price of around $2 and some change. That's roughly about $18,000 USD to kind of stake into XRP. It's pretty significant, but honestly, I thought it would actually be a little bit more. Now, I imagined that the top 5% would be whales with, tens of thousands of XRP, but actually it turns out that a few thousand XRP can put you ahead of 95% of other holders. And it's still a lot of money, but it feels a little bit more attainable than maybe I first had assumed. Now, here is where it gets really interesting, and where the FOMO might be kicking in. Let's talk about the potential payday if XRP's price ever hits $10. Now, there's been a lot of buzz about this lately. Despite recent market turbulence, many analysts remain rather confident in XRP's long-term prospects. Now, I saw one analyst, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗋, reminding everyone that Skeptics said XRP could not break 50 cents. Then they said it couldn't break $1. Then they said it couldn't break $2. Yet, it did all of those things. And now, those same voices, they might be popping up again to say $10 is just simply impossible. But the XRP community hasn't lost hope. Another commentator, Zach Rector, even joked that the community would erupt into a riot once XRP hits $10. It's a good riot, presumably. So, imagine that scenario then. XRP at a crisp 2 digits, $10 a coin. That's about a 336% increase from where it is at the point of this recording. What would that mean for you and for me then? Well, for the big holders on that rich list, it means some pretty serious money. You see, at today's price, someone in the top 10%, holding 2,323 XRP, has about $5,300 worth of XRP. Now, if XRP shoots to $10, that stack would be worth around $23,230. That's a profit of roughly $17,900 without them adding a single extra token. That's not bad for just being in the top 10%, right? Now, take that top 5% holder with 8,067 XRP or more. Right, today, that would be valued at around $18,500. At $10 per XRP, it becomes about $80,670. Quick math, that's a gain of approximately 61,500. Pretty life-changing for a lot of normal everyday people. But the real stunner is the top 1%. Minimum is 50,000 XRP in one single wallet, which is about $111,000 at the current prices. So if XRP hits $10, that wallet swells to nearly $500,000 in value. We're talking about almost $500,000. That's a profit of roughly $388,000 for just that investment, all from holding a bunch of XRP and riding it from $2 to $10. These numbers honestly made me sit back in my chair and just whistle. It shows the power of scaling up your investments. Higher risk, higher rewards. Because remember, right, it works both ways here. Right, those people who have a lot on the line, right? If things went sideways instead of up, larger holders could lose big. As the article that I read noted here, that big investments lead to bigger profits and bigger potential losses when the market swings. It is a double-edged sword of investing. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, should I try to become a top 5% holder? Is it really worth it? Well, that's where perspective and long-term thinking really comes in. Right? Many of the people in that top tier are likely long-term XRP holders. They didn't just accumulate 50,000 XRP overnight. Some have been stacking for years, possibly since XRP was even just a few cents. They held on through the crazy 2017 run-up when XRP hit around $3. Though, maybe even through the long-term crypto winter, through the SEC lawsuit drama, perhaps even all of it. Now, that kind of conviction, or patience, or even just stubbornness is, well, something else. I know stories of people who bought tens of thousands of XRP way back in 2017 or 2018 and just simply never sold. So imagine having that level of resolve. If you got in really early, say 50,000 XRP at 10 cents, maybe that was around $5,000 worth of investment back then. Now, you've already seen it 20x to current prices. And if it goes to $10, well, you're looking at a 100x from your initial buy. But here is the kicker. Holding through the volatility is not an easy thing to do. Right? Not everyone can stomach seeing their portfolio up to 6 figures and then maybe drop by 50%. And then shoot up all over again. Long-term holders, right, they earn those gains the hard way with a lot of emotional fortitude. Also, to be fair, some of the top wallets might not actually be individuals at all. A few could be exchanges holding customer assets or even Ripple's escrow holdings, which, skew things a bit. But the Rich List data that I'm citing is community-driven and likely filters out a lot of those known exchange wallets and focuses on individual holders. So the threshold that we're talking about here, 2.3 thousand, 8,000, 50,000 XRP, it gives a pretty good picture of what personal investors hold at various different tiers. Now, before we go any further, let me drop a quick but rather important disclaimer. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. Always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, I'm glad that we got that out of the way. So, you might be thinking, what's the game plan? Well, let's say you hold a pretty decent stack of XRP, maybe not the top 1%, but enough that $10 XRP would make a real difference for you. How do you prepare for that kind of possibility? Well, I'm going to tell you what I am doing. First, I like to make sure that I have a strategy for the exchanges. In a frenzy where XRP is rocketing, exchanges, they can get swamped. Now, I've seen it happen in the past. During big price surges, some exchanges simply go down or temporarily halt withdrawals because they cannot handle the volume. Now, it's the worst time to get locked out of your account. So, I have accounts on multiple different exchanges as a backup plan. I've gone through the KYC and verified on each of them. And I even do some small test trades or even transfers occasionally to ensure that I know how to use the platforms and that they work as they should. This way, if Exchange A freezes up or has an outage at a critical moment, I can just move and jump over to Exchange B or Exchange C to manage my funds accordingly. This is like having Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C for trading. All of my favorite exchanges are listed on my website, which is linked in the description down below. And yes, those are affiliate links that support the channel on my website. But importantly, I only put ones that I actually personally use and do trust. I recommend that you do the same. Not necessarily using my links though. I do appreciate that if you were to head over to the website and sign up to any of those exchanges with my links, because it really does help support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. But what I mean is, it's probably necessary for you guys to actually get set up on multiple different exchanges with reputable platforms before you actually need them. This is like having a spare key to your house. It's better to know that it's there and rather than to be scrambling in an emergency. Now, speaking of exchanges, I'm actually really excited to share a very special offer that has just launched. Now, we've partnered up with Kraken, the big US crypto exchange, to hook you guys up with a promotion that's pretty darn sweet. Now, here's the deal. If you sign up for a new Kraken account using my link that's in the description down below, that is an affiliate link by the way, and you trade $100 or more of any cryptocurrency, Kraken will give you $25 in XRP as a bonus. Yes, that's free XRP, essentially. Now, there are some conditions with this. It has to be a trade of at least $100 in a non-stablecoin crypto. You need to do this within 30 days of opening your account, and it is one reward per person. There are also other things such as jurisdiction restrictions, right? For example, not everywhere around the world is going to be able to participate. So I urge you all to check out the terms and conditions that I've also linked in the description down below. It's also a limited time offer, so don't wait too long if it is piquing your interest. I have all the details in the description down below and on our website. And just to be totally transparent, of course, this promotion is brought to you by Kraken. It's not affiliated with YouTube or Cheeky Crypto in any other way, and it is via the affiliate link that's in the description that supports the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. But honestly, I think this is a bit of a win-win, right? You get $25 in XRP for trying out one of the top exchanges in the world. I mean, Kraken is one of the OGs in the space with a great reputation. And you'll have another exchange account set up as part of your contingency plan. More options for you, a little support for the channel, and more XRP in your pocket. That's not bad, is it? Now, let's talk about security, because if you're planning to hodl XRP until the $10 dream comes true, well, you're going to need to keep those coins safe. And something that I cannot stress enough is to have a meaningful, if you have a meaningful amount of cryptocurrencies, that's to get it off of those exchanges and into your own wallet wherever possible. Now, personally, I use Ledger hardware wallets to store my long-term crypto holdings. Hardware wallets keep your private keys offline and away from the internet nasty bad guys. Now, here's a critical tip. Always buy your hardware wallets directly from the manufacturer's official websites. Never buy a Ledger or a Trezor from a random third-party seller on Amazon or eBay. Unfortunately, people in the crypto community will probably tell you that they've been scammed or had some kind of, tampered with device when they've bought it from a third-party place. And a lot of people in the community have learned this, unfortunately, the hard way. So you should just never buy a hardware wallet from a third party. Always go straight to the official source. Now, there have been many cases of scammers selling tampered devices so that they can compromise your funds. Now, it's just not worth the risk of saving a few bucks here or there, or to get maybe some faster shipping. Order it from Ledger, for example, or whatever brand that you're looking at, right? Wait for it to arrive and set it up securely. Now, I do have an affiliate link on my website that takes you to the Ledger's official store. So feel free to use that link if you want to support the channel here while purchasing. Of course, no extra cost to yourself. But however you do it, just make sure that it's the real deal from the real manufacturer. I also love that with hardware wallets, and XRP in particular, is that you're in full control. So if you're holding for the long term, you don't need to keep your coins on an exchange where you have a trust, or at least you have to trust that third party. You can become your own bank, right? Just remember to back up your seed phrase in a really secure way, because if you do lose it, nobody's going to help you recover your funds. All right, let's zoom out for a second here. We've talked about the rich list stats, the potential gains, and some strategies to handle a future moonshot more responsibly, like having exchange backups and using hardware wallets. But what is the big takeaway here? Well, for me, it is a bit of a mix of motivation and caution. On one hand, seeing that being in the top 10% only requires a couple of thousand XRP is kind of motivating, right? It shows that the distribution isn't as top heavy as many people thought. With some due diligence and some time here, reaching that level might actually be possible for a lot of normal, regular people with 9-to-5 jobs. 2,323 XRP to be in the top 10%. Now, in case you're wondering here, that's the number that you're targeting. Now, on the other hand, though, it does remind me that more coins equals more rewards equals more risk. Now, I'm not in that 1% club personally. Not really anywhere near that, if I'm being honest with you. But even for my holdings, I always consider the downside here. So if XRP were to be dropping by 50% tomorrow, how would I actually feel about it? Can I afford to have that money tied up for a longer term? Are these questions any sensible, or these are the questions that any sensible investor should actually be asking themselves? For long-term XRP holders that are out there, whether you're in the top 1%, the top 5%, or even if you have just 500 XRP to your name, the key is to have a plan and to stick to your principle, right? If you believe in the project, these rich list numbers, they show that you're not alone, right? There's a whole community holding just alongside you. Now, if you're a bit newer and maybe you're aiming to grow your stack, just do it smartly. Maybe use dollar cost averaging strategies. Pay attention to some major news like the never-ending Ripple sagas with the regulators, which thankfully has some pretty positive resolutions recently, right? And don't overextend beyond what you can actually handle. One more thing though, taking profit, it is not a sin. If XRP does approach $10 and that changes your life, there is no shame in locking in some gains. Being emotionally prepared for that moment is just as important. Some people will ride until the wheels fall off, and hey, maybe XRP does go beyond $10 eventually. But others might secure their financial freedom at $10, and that is perfectly fine. You've got to have your targets in mind. For me, this whole exploration was a bit eye-opening. It started as simple curiosity. Am I a whale? How do I stack up against the other XRP holders? And it turned into a more valuable lesson, I guess, on strategy, on patience, and on security. And I hope sharing this has given you some insights too. It's kind of like getting a glimpse into the XRP Millionaires Club, except you realize the club's entry requirement actually may be lower than you first thought. Yet it's still a pretty tough climb too. As always though, I'm going to keep on researching, keep on digging things up and update you on what I find. Whether XRP skyrockets or dips, knowledge and preparation are going to be our best friends in this volatile crypto world. For now though, you can do me a favor by hitting that like button and that subscribe button and sticking around for the next video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe, stay savvy in the crypto space.